And over years, people have gone to talk about it again and again and again. Very recently in Sapiens by Yuval Harari, if you have read, he talks about how the woman is very center of energy and the creations all surround her. Even Virginia Woolf said that I would venture to chase or guess that Anon that wrote so many poems without singing them, I'm sure was a woman. And I believe that the grit, the empathy, the wisdom, the very love for life, and the very love for creating life cannot be anybody else but a woman. But then we come to the very controversial subject of rights. Women's rights that elicits, responses from all spectrum of the society. And I go to question it and I say, shouldn't it in all fairness be one? One that the universe itself bestowed upon the women. However, the democracies of the world have gone into creating the three pillars of the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary to grant the same rights to us that will always belong to us. So what is that right? That we are empowered. And empowerment is not a tool that needs to hand it over to the gender of a woman, especially when you carry the two X chromosomes, which is always more powerful than the X and Y. And there's a reason you have the two X. And I always say that if you have the excess of X, use it to the max. You are asking empowerment from a gender that actually seeks empowerment themselves. And when I speak at different world stages, and recently, the year before this at World Economic Forum, I talked about it's the men who need empowerment. They need a little bit of passion and compassion because they don't feel the power to procreate, the power to create like we do. They don't know what it is to nurture. They don't know what it is to carry the genetics forward. It's often in kids. How you nurture them is what they become. And I believe it is a responsibility of a woman to decide how the man is going to transform himself. Because she's the same womb that creates both the genders. So she has the very power to determine how the other gender is going to shape. But unfortunately, and Dr. Henry will be surprised, that most of the times the bias of a mother is always a son. And the father is always a daughter. Somehow it happens. I've seen it in my family and many other families. The mom gets too attached to the son and, oh my God, I'm not sure if my son is going to leave me one day when he gets married, but he's going to marry another woman, just like you. And it's okay for him to leave. Because it's important for him to go and explore and learn the nuances and feel and accept things in himself. So when I decided to leave home, that's what my dad gave as a mandate, that if you don't want to be a doctor, get out. 15, I came to Bangalore. I'm actually born in Calcutta. So 15, when I came to Bangalore, I was doing the most pettiest of jobs to survive. And that survival made me an entrepreneur. Because I could do anything I wanted without the fear of failure. When you go to a college every day where, and it's a women's college, I went to, a women's college. Sometimes we say these conferences about women is about empowerment, about education, about acknowledgement, about knowledge sharing. The most important part we forget or we forgive is that women need to be more compassionate towards each other. We often put each other down, and it's the reality. And I'm saying this because while I was born in India, I spent a substantial number of years outside studying for my education, came back to India to fund my companies, and now I live between New York and India. And one of the learnings is it's the same thing everywhere. No country is an exception. Some are loud, and some are not. Indeed, when Professor Hurdon, said, one of the very important, Dr. Singh said, Professor Singh said this, and it resonated with me about Nirmaya, is that while we glorify some of these incidents of rape, but we often forget that most of the pedophiles actually target younger boys and not girls. Because men are taught to not scream, not express pain, and not cry. Can we women, to bring equality, make men a little more compassionate? Can we change the paradigm a little bit? And that's the question I want to ask all the people who are here today. The rights that are given to us, one of the core rights is nurture. So why not take it beyond the family, beyond the people we love, to the men outside and show them that it's okay to cry, it's okay to be weak, and it's okay not to be the breadwinner of the family. I was speaking at the World Hindu Congress in Chicago on the 125th year of Swami Vivekananda. I was the youngest speaker there, and one of the reasons I took the assignment to speak there was to talk about women in economics. What an amazing subject, right now? While the patriarchy or the society at large goes to make you believe that the women are great at kitchen and the men should be the breadwinner, but look at the world. Best economists are women. The best banks in the world, the top banks in the world, including the International Monetary Fund, is led by a woman. And the best chefs in this world are all men. Even my husband cooks in the kitchen. Even though he makes a lot of money, that's fine. But he cooks in the kitchen, but I said, I'm not good at it. I'm okay with not being good at something which the society dictates me to be good at. I said a no to my dad, and I say a no all the time, and it's okay to say no. If we really want to change the Prism and bring about a change in the rights and in the realm of affairs, it starts by saying no. It's okay for you to step out of your family and stand on your own 2 feet. And it's okay for you to be the son of your family if you do not have another sibling. It's okay for you to decide if you or if you not want to have a child or the womb should bear one or not, and give life to someone who doesn't, because I became a single mother at 23, when in India it was not okay to be that. I said, I don't need a man. Being a mother is a sense of fulfillment. Sometimes you give birth, sometimes you don't. And that's the beauty that changed. And see, somebody had to make, I'm not saying it's me, but Sushmita said when she decided that she's going to have 2 kids, not of her own, but she'd be more the mother than anyone can even imagine to be. I go back and look at our scriptures. Krishna's mother is always Yashoda. Our culture, actually thousands of years back, was so empowered. That's why Draupadi was okay to have 5 husbands, because you cannot have all the same qualities in one man, so she was okay to have 5 of them. And that was fine. So how do we bring that empowerment back? How do we bring the culture that once made this country the pioneer of technology, that once made this country the pioneer of education, that once made this country the pioneer of revolution, be it again? Women have always been at the center of the biggest revolutions of this world. While a lot of us, I was talking to Ithi over coffee, and we were talking that while a lot of us celebrate the International Women's Day, most of us don't know where it came from. Russia, 1816. Women decided to take matters in their own hand and said, no, I am not going to let inflation dictate what is my sole right. They rose up, went to the factories, toned them down, and said, I will take what's rightfully mine. So what I say is, right is not something law grants. Right is something you have, and you own it, and you bring it upon yourself. The French Revolution. How many of you know how the monarchy actually ended in Paris? The women decided to march, the March of Versailles, which is very, very famous in history, and they said, you know what? I'm not going to take a man and tell me what to do, what not to do. I'm saying it in very crude language, but that's what, they would have said in French, and a lot more, panache, but that's what they meant. Get lost. You don't come down, we'll bring you down. And that's what happened. The patriarchy, the monarchy of Paris ended because women decided to take matters in their own hand. The Joan of Arc, the Rani Jhansi Bai. All of these women didn't ask somebody to grant them their rights. Didn't ask law to create a constitution which is so modern to dictate what is important to them. And I sometimes say that feminism is a little misguided if it is not with a cause. It should lead you somewhere. Because if you can't see beyond the realm of your instant gratification, then there is a problem. And the problem is simple. You are making yourself subservient than you actually are. You're allowing someone to dictate your way of life while you already have your way of life. Swami Vivekananda, a man in 18th century, knew the power of women. And if you see some of his writings, he says, educate a woman and then leave her alone. She knows exactly what to do with that education. And there's a fine line between education and literacy. Literacy grants you a certificate. Education makes you aware. And that's where knowledge stems from. I may have been an economist by education, or rather my certification, but I'm an entrepreneur by my passion and my ability to seek knowledge. As an entrepreneur, I don't hire people because they're men or women. I hire people because they're talented, they're qualified. Because in a business, when you're trying to grow, you need talent, you need potential, you need skill. And that's not necessarily divided between genders. What I feel has happened over years, especially the last 150 years, is that we have been guided in different directions without a common purpose. We are always fighting battles which not necessarily are for us to win. They're not necessarily battles in themselves. A battle is a battle when you're fighting something like a triple talaq. When you're telling a man that you cannot decide in 3 words whether you can abandon him. When we decided to say kubul hai together, we decided to part ways together as well. And marriage cannot be dictated by a contract alone. These are worth fighting for because they bring about a certain change in the society, even if it takes years. Now, can you change people from raping each other? Not really. The animal instincts in men and women have been there since the very eon. Right? We just have the ability and the consciousness that makes us human. So how do we enlighten and use that consciousness for our betterment? I think that's our right. That should be the law. That's how we should participate in constitution making. How many lawyers are here? Amazing. I have one. And you can concur with what I'm saying, that law is not absolute. Never. That's the beauty of law. It's evolutionary. That's why constitution is not absolute. Studied a little bit of it because I was very passionate about law and constitution. So I'm like, how do you decide the economics of an economy if you don't understand the constitutions and the policies that dictate it? So, and as I studied law, I found it extremely exhilarating to understand that how it's a lot more agile than we think it is. So how can we participate in policy making? Anyone in politics here? I wish we were. Some of us are great at policy making and we feel that we are natural leaders. Right? I knew the reason I can never be in front in politics is I'm too emotionally passionate. And you sometimes have to be a little overly shrewd. That works for business but not for politics. But I've worked with a lot of politicians and one of my learning has been the reason the balance is not there in their thinking is because there are not enough women in politics. There are not enough women in policy making, forget politics, in governance. You don't have to be in the government, but in governance. Yes, there are IAS officers now, there are a lot of IPS officers, a lot of women out there taking the baton in their hand, but what we need is more involvement. That if we see the different spectrum, the 3 pillars of the democracy, which actually enables us to succeed and makes the fight for feminism worthwhile, makes the fight for equality worthwhile, comes from some of the policy-making participation, and that's where we need to be. And what Swami Vivekananda said has to enable us, that hey, we're educated. Now how do I ensure I take this education and create a society that I feel will be workable for me, and that can all be different in different places. We don't need to fight the same battles in every country because you can't change culture. You don't want to fight the battle that you can't win. You rather fight the battle that you can. So taking India or United States, seeing the culture of the countries, or Australia, Finland, what a phenomenal country. Like I went there, not only did they elect a woman to now lead them who's below the age of 30, Sarah, but you know what? They're driving innovation. They made education free. And that's very important. Education is just as important as food, shelter, and clothing. And I say, the 5 fingers actually is food, shelter, clothing, education, and healthcare. And these should be easily accessible. And that can lead even the smallest of countries to bring great revolution. When the Prime Minister of New Zealand, she went into the assembly with holding her child, that just goes to show that how important motherhood is. It's okay for me to bring my child to work as long as I do a great job. It's fine if I can manage it. So don't make me feel that my womb is actually a criteria for my weakness. And that's why I'm reiterating, the reason the word woman exists is because it actually means a womb plus a man. The power of two X's always overrides the X and Y. And one of the important takeaways that I want to have from this session, because I want a little bit of Q&A so that we can learn a little bit from each other and see if I'm standing here, how I can be of value to you guys in the long run, in whatever little way I can. Never ask for what you have. Never seek for what you found. Use the strengths that makes you you is equal to unique to the best of your ability. I was the first woman to ever stand in election in NASSCOM when everybody was a man and I won it. I was less than 30. I became the first board member of Kotler Impact, which is an organization run by Philip Kotler, who we all know is the father of marketing. The only Indian woman, the only woman to be on the board. It's not because they said, oh, you're great, let's come and do it. I said, I want it, so I'm going to go get it. And that's very important. See what you have. You don't have to reach out to everything that you want. Sometimes you don't have, there is no competition. You don't have to be an entrepreneur like me, absolutely not. You can be a phenomenal singer. I wish I was that. I was trained in Hindustani classical singing. I love singing. I never could pursue it because I felt, you know what, this makes me more happy than that, but that can continue to still be a part of my life. So I do a concert every year. So I don't have to create an album. I can continue my passion, but I do what I'm best at, and that's entrepreneurship. I'm great at building businesses. And today, if you go to Amazon.com, you type Physician's Choice, Amplify, they're the top selling healthcare brands, not just health supplements brands, and we build them from scratch with the power of a great team. So identifying what you're not good at and hiring people who are better than you. Something Dr. Amar Bose taught me during my PhD. If you know, the Bose was actually founded by an Indian. Bose Systems is actually founded by an Indian at MIT. His name is Dr. Amar Bose. The man never took the company public because he said that the shareholders are going to kill the core essence of the company. And just like I say always, the man who continues to inspire me, Swami Vivekananda, and in innovation, Nikola Tesla, that sometimes it's very important to have that balance. And they both were great friends. And Tesla said, I wish I was a little like Edison. He stole everything from me, but sometimes it's important to have that balance, and that's what Elon Musk is. And why I'm bringing these examples of men is that there are some great examples around us, both men and women, who inspire us all the time. I talked about women in politics, and I talked about men in innovation. They're all equally important. It's you who choose what you need. And do be a little compassionate to the men around in your life. They need more empowerment than we do. Thank you very much. So, I will be happy to take questions because they believe that when you are procreating, a lot of your devotion is going to go there. They don't understand you can naturally multitask, right? In many countries over time, that has become a challenge. And India in itself. Now we are changing. Before we would just give a 3 months maternity leave to the mother without giving any paternity leave, which is important. The father has to participate. He just didn't donate his sperms, right? He also created a beautiful life. So the participation of fathers was not as much applauded. It was like, okay, we need the men to work, but the women should be at home taking care of the kids. And that's why countries, especially in the Asian, dominated countries, had that kind of a culture. And that's changing now. So that's why I said that the perception of womb being the weakness has to change, because that's the power. That's what makes you so legible. Why do men need more compassion and more empowerment? One, they don't know what it is to actually create anything. They actually can't directly participate except for through the format of procreation. To the format of recreation, they procreate something, but they actually don't get to feel what it is to hold something in your womb, give it life, and nurture it for 9 months. Now imagine, they don't feel that naturally. And then you expect them that they are going to empower you, right? Dr. Pradhan, you think about it. You're asking someone who actually doesn't have the benefits that you and I have to give us something that is naturally ours. Indeed, if we tell them that, hey, there is no question of equation. Why am I going to ever equate with a man? I don't really want your opinion, science. I have what I need. complementary to me. If they get an understanding of this complementary nature, and they then look at you as, hey, you're not trying to compete with me, so if you go earn the money and I stay at home, it's okay. It's fine. And that's what I mean by empowerment for men. If men are taught to believe it's okay to be in the kitchen and be at home and be great fathers, it's okay, just like I can be a great mother. That's what I mean. I hope that answers the question. Any other questions? Sure.
The question is, you said that policy making generally empowers women.
Absolutely.
So who are these people who are making policy? Is there any gender differentiation there also? That is my first question. And how far these policies are being implicated? If there is any implication of these policies in the country?
Right?
Yeah. Okay. In Indian context, if I am asking.
Absolutely. Great question. What's your name again?
Pooja,
I think that's a fantastic question you asked. So what is policy? So the reason we voters go out and vote for a few people is we believe they can lead us to a better life. Very honestly, that's why we actually go and vote, because the whole idea of everything is that I want a better life. Make a better economic condition, better jobs, better lifestyle, better infrastructure, altogether a better life. So in Constitution, or in Constitution at large, the policies are what actually forms the articles that becomes laws, right? So when you are talking about policy making, so let's say in government, who are the people who make policies? So you have the legislature, then they propose a bill. They say, hey, I want the triple talaq bill to be abolished and a new bill to be introduced saying that you can't do it anymore. Now, there is a committee that is formed together that is going to review that before it becomes a bill and a law. Once you form this committee, and my lawyer friend, feel free to jump in, okay? Once you form this committee and people are looking at the different parameters of how the policy has been written, they give their opinions. Today, the percentage of women in that opinion poll is only 20 to 25%. What I'm talking about, bring it a notch up. More women getting into governance, more women getting in, when I say governance, is the executive level jobs. So the IAS officers at large, they play a very, very important role in policy. Or the governmental bodies that are existing today, the likes of NITI, right? Which invites, if you guys go, they're constantly inviting application from people and young policymakers who are not necessarily IAS officers but has inclination towards policy to come and be a part of the policy making. They're a think tank, right? So they are looking at new ideas to implement. Then you have your political leaders, that your MPs and your MLAs, who are actually going and presenting these policies and the bills to be passed by the legislature, right? Which then is up, once it becomes a law, then it's the judiciary's responsibility to uphold it and ensure that it's implemented. And anybody who goes and questions and says, hey, I have rightfully this thing that has been granted to me by the government, but somebody is taking it away from me, is the role of the judiciary to ensure that you're protected as a citizen of the country. Is why the judiciary is independent of the legislative and the executive. Women play a very, very important role here, both in terms of participation in lawmaking, as policy making, as lawyers, as IAS officers. Second is in the executive, as politicians, because they are the ones who are actually passing this into it, and in judiciary, in the courts, who are going to uphold it. Imagine how beneficial it's going to be for India, with 48% of women in the polity, in the policy making. That's our population. And if we can go from 2025 to actually that 48%, which is our populace parameter, imagine the impact that we can actually create.
And then why there is always a complaint from a woman, if she is a single mother or she is a divorcee, that the judiciary, the lawmaking body, is not giving proper judgment. Or sometimes the judiciary judge himself or the judiciary itself has a male member in that as the judge.
You just answered my question.
So why that?
You just answered my question. If you have, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I just took your offer to jump in and so you liked it. I just continue with
Absolutely.
to supplement what George was saying. There are two things. One thing is, we were speaking about policy. Let me just give you one illustration of a case which happened in India. This was in the year 1997. And gave birth to the law relating to sexual harassment of women at workplace, and that is what we call as the Visakhapatnam guidelines. Now, when we're looking at policy, it is not the executive alone which makes a policy, but many a times under Article 141 of the Constitution of India, when the Supreme Court lays down the case, that becomes lex law. See, meaning that it becomes a law of the land. Now, what happened in this case was that we did not have a law relating to sexual harassment of women at workplace. We got this, and it was right in the face because we did not have a law which dealt with something like this. So, what the Supreme Court did in its extreme judicial activism was that it took up from CEDA, that is Convention of Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. It picked up from there and it said, in India now we are going to use an international convention to have law relating to sexual harassment of women, sexual harassment against women in India. So this was the birth of the Visakhapatnam guidelines, and then of course, the rest is history, and then it went on with that. So this is also another way, by the way, that policy is made. And just to, I'm just tempted to just, take your second question relating to men being in the judiciary. I'll just tell you about my own experience of handling one case, which related to child sexual abuse. Now, this was a case where there's a child sexual abuse, and the child sexual abuse is by the father of the child. Now, the father of the child is an ambassador, he's a French ambassador, he's settled in India, and in this case it so happens that the mother wants to get away from the father, she wants a judicial separation. And then she's filing for divorce and she's asking for, these matters relating to child sexual abuse. Now, the matter goes before the district court. The district court completely acquits the father in the child sexual abuse. Now, what I want to draw everybody's attention is to the judicial thinking, to the process of the thinking that went in there. The judgment said he will be acquitted. The reason is because if women whose responsibility it is, the prime responsibility it is to take care of their children, leave the children in the house, go outside to party, to shop, then this is what she has to expect. And let me tell you, the district judge was not a man, it was a woman who gave this judgment. So many a times, it becomes very easy for us when we comment and when we think about it to say, all the men might decide like this, but no, it doesn't happen like that. That is the reason why, whenever, in my experience of doing the feminist presentations, I think one thing we have always maintained is that not all women are angels and not all men are devils.
Absolutely, that's what I said. Remember?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, the feminist theory is only to maintain the harmony in the society because we need all genders in the society.
Absolutely, and that's what I started with. The whole idea saying that, that we sometimes put each other down. And we often, and thank you so much for participating. And see, the whole idea of this convention is to get to know each other, learn from each other's experiences. I often say, I do not go and speak at conferences with say, hey, you, just a presentation and blah, blah, blah. I say, no, I need time to interact. What am I going to learn? It's like just one way. And that's what you learn. I now know someone who's fought these cases with extreme knowledge about the judiciary, who knows how it works, and like she said, the judiciary plays an equally important role. That's why it's such an important pillar in the democracy. And I think she answered your question very beautifully that all women are not angels and all men are not devils. This is why empathy should be both ways. Any other questions, guys? Is my time up? Okay. Absolutely. We'll make this the last?
Yeah.
This is the last one. Done.
Hi, Sakshi.
Hi.
My question is that why is it that women go against women in this case? Not exactly, I'm not saying that it is not subjective, it is definitely subjective, but is it that it is fear that if we support other women, our case might get smashed away and the other person would get it, or is it fear, or is it anger that, I have faced it, so let the other woman also face it and then come forward with the struggle?
Meenakshi, what a beautiful question, right? Does fear lead to unwarranted, pulling down each other? Is it just a thing with women, or is it anger that I suffered so much now it's time for your suffering? I don't think it's subjective to men and women. It is their emotions. But why? Sometimes when I during my speech I said something. Why is upbringing so important? Why the household you come from actually actually sets the foundation of your thinking. There are two ways to counter that. Keep company of people who inspire you. If you are with people who actually have that, inculcate that kind of a thought process, that, like she said, her example was that this woman was at the seat of helming this judgment, and she said, no, it's your responsibility, because maybe she's made to feel like that all her life. Maybe she's come from a family to counter that, and maybe somebody at home has never told her that it's okay for you to go out and judge. Sadly, the lawyer on the other side never questioned, ma'am, what are you doing here? Or don't you have children? Because then that will be taken into discrimination. So funny how lawyers, right? If you're questioning, you're discriminating. If you're not, then it's anger and frustration. What and why we do things has a deep and psychological reason. And I remember, the other professor talking about, philosophy. Why it's so important to understand that is because you can stay where you came from, or you can evolve forever. And evolution is only constant, right? Because change is permanent. Change is like overturn somebody upside down. But evolution is constant, you evolve. So the evolution is what a lot of us is. Because of what we go through at our homes, we bring it back to work and a normal sense of judgment. And it's not just women, it's men too. It's men too. The reason I'm saying this is because I have a brother, not my own brother, a cousin brother of mine, right? Who, because he was molested as a child, his outlook towards life is always that he's oppressed. He's constantly seeking validation, and to do that, he often, even though he's in the LGBT community, he often is trying to fight his own people. So it's not necessarily just a woman thing. But today, now that we acknowledge this emotion, what should we do to change it? The baggage that we have of our past, we leave it there. None of us have a perfect life. All of us have gone through something what has made us who we are. If we are talking about the future of women, and this conference is supposed to be about that, then let's focus on the future. The future should come to lift each other up. We don't want to know what your past is. I don't care what family you came from. I know Meenakshi today, and I will work with Meenakshi to see, okay, Meenakshi has this kind of a vision of things she wants to do. How can I work with it? If we stop worrying about where we're coming from and focus on where we're going, I think a lot of these challenges will change. Not overnight. It's going to happen if people try. So with that, okay guys, I think that's a wrap of my session. And remember, Ichha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Namo Namah. And it's all you.
Firstly, congratulations to the Women Future Conference team for putting up such a great show with such eminent and erudite women who are expressing not their vision and their learning about today, but the focus is the future. I'm Dr. Somdutta Singh. I'm an entrepreneur. I have built and scaled multiple ventures globally, and I've also invested in great ideas and seen them flourish and grow. As a woman, I feel that we are extremely empowered, and we should use this tool of empowerment to help others and help those who literally need it. I also believe that we should extend this tool of empowerment to the men aside us. As an entrepreneur, I feel that men and women are complementary. There is no question of competition because each has its own strengths and weaknesses. The goal is that how do we take this strengths, apply it to our daily learnings, and empower those around us. It's also important as women, we are the nurturers of the family, that we ensure that the people in our families see the value of our contributions and are able to pass that on to generations coming forth. I was a rebel, but I was not a rebel without a cause. I'm a feminist, but I do not believe in feminism without a cause. I also believe that you should not try to fight all the battles. I believe that you take issues that are going to benefit not just you, but the world at large, the place at large, and the society at large. Future is in our hands. Depends on how we make it beautiful. Thank you very much.